Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Amber Rose, also known as the Religious Hippie. You can basically follow me on any social media platform, or you can go straight to my website at thereligioushippie.com. I've decided to change things up a little bit, and I've decided instead of putting these videos out on the weekends, it's going to be every other week. So we're going to have a regular video on one Friday and then a help segment the next Friday, and so on and so forth. Just makes it a little bit easier because things are getting a little more tighter and I don't have as much time to edit every single week as we get closer to the wedding. So these are going to be instead bi-weekly, and same thing with the other videos. So hopefully that's okay. I apologize, you're going to have to wait a week in order to hear my response to some of these, but I do think that this is going to work out better in the long run because I want to get these videos out to you guys, and this is the best way for me to do that. So I do appreciate your patience. Thank you so much. But without further ado, let's just get started. Hey Amber, what do you think of courtship in modern Catholicism as opposed to dating? Do you think courtship could work for marriage? Thanks for reading. Take care. God bless. Best regards. All right, thanks for writing in. A very short one this time around. So I want to define dating versus courting first, because I think those words like thrown around kind of interchangeably and they're very different. So I just want to, not very different, but like different. So courting is actually when you have the intention of marrying the person that you are courting. A lot of the times we say date to marry, and that's something that I use all the time. So the correct term actually is courting, not dating. However, that does not mean that the courtship will end in marriage. It just means that your intention is to marry that person. Later on, you might discern that it isn't God's intention for you guys to get married and you can move on. Or you might decide that you guys are ready to get married, and that's fantastic.
I have a wife!
But this involves commitment and constant discernment, and you should be able to know if you guys are going to get married within a year of courting. Usually you should know within 6 months, but if you guys have been courting for more than a year, you really have to question if you guys are moving in the right direction. Courting is not stagnant. You guys should constantly be making strides in your relationship and with God and moving towards marriage. Dating is seen as more of a glorified friendship. You might like somebody, but you aren't committed to them. You could be dating 3 people at once.
Hello, ladies.
And no, that's not exactly cheating, and I know that kind of ruffles some feathers, but dating isn't exactly like, oh, we're committed to each other and we're not going to see anyone else. It's, hey, I'm interested in you, like, let's hang out, let's go for a date, coffee, dinner, or whatever, and let's see if we're compatible. And then you guys can move on to courting if that's something you discern will work for you. But like I said, these two terms are used interchangeably, so if there is somebody you're interested in and you want to court or date them, make sure you communicate with them and they know what those terms mean so that you guys are on the same page and there's no mixed emotions or hurt feelings, because a lot of the time people don't understand what the two things mean. They don't research it or they just don't know, which is fine. But make sure that you're on the same page with them so that there's no mixed feelings. So personally for me, I think both are necessary. I think you should date someone to, build a friendship with them and have a foundation with them, obviously. And then if you decide, wow, we're really compatible and everything, then you start courting them and you start making those preparations and having those difficult conversations to get married. And I think that's beautiful, and you both have to be on the same page. It can't be one-sided. And I just think that's something that you need to communicate with the person you're with, and you have to make sure you guys are on the same page. But I do think it's plausible, and I think both are very important. Okay, next up. Hi Amber, your channel is a breath of fresh air in a world of very toxic advice from the internet. I pray God sustains your ministry and keeps you humble and healthy through all the turmoil I can assume being a Catholic influencer entails. I really appreciate that. And honestly, the haters humble me and I'm all for it. My question is about discernment and dating. I'm a convert to the faith and have been discerning priesthood. In my discernment, I've gradually gone from lightly considering to more strongly desiring a life of vow and service. However, I also know I've never had a relationship work out. I've been the one to break up every relationship I've had, the longest being 2 years, usually because I fall out of love or overlook a very obvious barrier between me and a girl and am unwilling to face reality that things won't work out until it becomes too apparent. I feel guilty about this as I believe I've dragged people on out of fear rather than being honest about how I feel. A part of me wonders if I should keep searching and see if a relationship I'm really passionate about would be worth a try. And perhaps it could give a more object view of marriage versus priesthood too. But I also believe that it would be cruel if I confirm that priesthood is what God's calling me to and I break another heart out of my carelessness, treating a woman like a test case instead of someone who deserves a boyfriend that is certain they're called to be a husband and father one day. I am certainly not discerning priesthood just because I haven't had a relationship work out. That would be a mockery of the discernment process. But I wonder your thoughts on the situation, since I think a woman's perspective might give a fresh angle. Feel free to be brutally honest. I'm in my early 20s, if that gives any more context. Okay, so I love this email. Thank you so much for writing in. This is, this is great. Okay, so right now it does seem like God is calling you to the priesthood because you have that strong pull and discernment for it, but also because none of your relationships have worked out. I think that this is something God can really put in our lives, and he'll take things away from us that hinder our relationship with him or hinder our vocation or our discerning process. So to me, it's no surprise that no relationship has worked out for you because it seems like you're called to be a priest. Obviously, continue discerning and go through with that, but this is the perfect time to discern being a priest. Father David Michael Moses and I did a podcast last year, I think it was, and he basically told me that he was dating someone when he felt this call to the priesthood. And when he did, he realized no, I have a call to marriage in a way, but I am willing to give that up for the priesthood because I am being called to the priesthood. So it's not that want for marriage is going to go away, but it's that you give that up for God. And he ended up breaking up with the girl, and they're actually friends to an extent. She ended up marrying somebody else. But the main thing is that this is the perfect time to discern whether or not you are called to the priesthood because you're not in a relationship. If you were in a relationship, it would be more difficult because your discernment process is going to be fogged because you have somebody else waiting for you and you don't want to hurt them. And so being able to be single in this time of discernment, I think, is so important. But Father David Michael Moses and I did that podcast episode, and I'll link that below for you because I think it'll be really helpful. His own story, he's a very young priest, and he's just such a light in the world, and I think he can give a lot of motivation to young men like yourself who are kind of struggling in the discernment process. And if I was in this situation as the woman you would want to date one day, I would feel really confused and kind of hurt that you felt this calling, and instead of discerning it and trying to figure out whether or not it's actually something you called to, and then later on breaking up because you kept God waiting. And I know that seems like a really simple answer, but to be honest, pursue the priesthood and God will open the doorways to let you know where he wants you to be in your vocation. But I would definitely discern religious life first, and if you get a definite yes from God, then great. If you get a definite no from God, then you can start discerning marriage. But it definitely seems like he's calling you to the priesthood right now, and I think that's beautiful. All right, guys, that is it for our help segment. If you guys would like to be featured on any of these segments, please email me at thereligioushippie@gmail.com and put in the subject help so that I know it's going to be on the show, and please specify whether or not you'd like to remain anonymous. With all of that being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!